Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you guys could subscribe here, that'd be cool. If not, thanks for stopping by. If you're a fan of this page, you might also be a fan of our radio program. Myself, Leroy, we get silly 4 hours every single weekday on the WQM YouTube page. Check that out. We're on live 10 a.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. Eastern. Check that on out. Been a lot of bad vibes over the last couple days. Bad vibes with the Miami Heat. Pat Riley's press conference. You guys hear this stuff from Zach Lowe? Lowe Post had this to say in regards to what the buzz was on Pat Riley's presser that he's heard.
I don't know what's going to happen in Miami, but I know that one way or another, they could be the first domino of the offseason in the NBA. Those comments were, and again, it's Riley. Riley has long since passed the I give zero you-know-whats about anything I say. I will say anything that's on my mind. I don't care who I offend. He told Jimmy, now this was a little tongue-in-cheek, I think, but still, he told Jimmy, you're not on the court to play Boston and New York. You should shut your mouth. He could have said that a little bit more politely. Like, even if you're tongue-in-cheek, you could have been like, I just wish he wouldn't have said anything. He wasn't available. He was like, no, I'm going to hit him with the jab and then the right hook and be pretty blunt about it. That opened a lot of eyes around the NBA. Let's put it that way. My phone was lighting up during the Riley press conference. They are maybe ground zero for the NBA offseason starting right now.
I think that was it's interesting comments from a couple. First of all, if it is a surprise that Pat Riley is direct with his players or his stars, it's almost like the league hasn't been paying attention with Pat Riley. Has been that way. Did it with LeBron. Blew up in his face. Did it with D. Wade. Got a little bit personal there. Wouldn't pay D. Wade, and that certainly didn't go great. Goran Dragic just told you stories about the idea where Pat Riley's like, listen, son, we're not paying you for this shit. It's he's direct with his stars. He's direct with his highest paid players. And you know what? A lot of the times, when it does come down to money, it doesn't always end in the best ways. Talks of like Heat culture, being family and all that stuff. A lot of that stuff's true because everybody always ends up coming back. But when those business decisions do come, the guy puts running the basketball organization above all. And I do think that they have concerns about paying Jimmy Butler that money. The idea is, could he have been more polite about it? Certainly. Is that Pat Riley's style? Is that Jimmy Butler's style? Not really. I mean, they're both pretty head-on confrontational guys. Let's not forget, guys. I mean, this is, Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra at one point were like, actively having to be held back from one another, and everything was fine the next day. So, the drama around Jimmy Butler and the organization and, Jimmy being a handful or getting certain treatments all that stuff is out there in the ether and whatnot. But if Jimmy Butler was all of that and the Miami Heat still think that he can be an elite driving force to them winning a championship, you bet your ass they're going to keep him around. They are. I don't think there's going to be an idea that they've run out on times to harbor ill will, and that's why Jimmy Butler is going to be gone. But it was good to see. Now, you got to put some context on the timeline here, but there was an article that was put out today by the great Rohan Nadkarni, who he's almost like, I don't know when Rohan's going to get the Jimmy Butler biography deal, but this dude's dropped more Jimmy Butler interviews than I think anybody. He is he always seems like he finds his way into Jimmy Butler and gets some really interesting stuff. But this, now just for clarity, this did happen at the F1 series, and this was before Pat Riley spoke on Monday. But he did talk about his Miami Heat loyalties, or his Miami Heat, his love for the Miami Heat, his desire to stay with the Miami Heat. And this was his quote to Rohan. And he was asked about, is his goal to still retire in a Miami Heat jersey? He says, in the NBA for sure. But after that, I really do want to play for Flamengo. I tell that everybody, I am half Brazilian. And then he adds a little more seriously, quote, I feel at home, man. I really do care about the city. I really care about the people in this city. Miami has embraced me. They've wanted me to bring them something that they haven't done since LeBron, D. Wade, and C. Bosh, and I want to do that. So as soon as I get this knee back right, I'm back on the ass, and everybody knows it. Butler clearly laments not having been able to perform alongside his teammates over the last couple of weeks and the challenges of the Heat rivals. Quote, I feel like everybody got a pass this playoffs, man. We're not going out like that. So there you go. I mean, a little bit more of the feelings that he did echo to Rock the Bells, maybe a little less silly. And, obviously this harbors back. But I do feel like, honestly, if these were the quotes that Jimmy Butler gives out, I don't think Pat Riley has the reaction that he does. So in a way, you almost wish like this dropped the day of the Pat Riley presser. Not that it's your fault, Rohan. You did a great job doing the interview. And I also just want people to stop being mad at me. But I think that if it was said like that initially, I don't think that Pat Riley has the biting reaction that he does. I think that, Jimmy not being available on top of wanting a lot of money while not being available on top of seemed like he was a little bit tipsy in the back paddocks of the F1 race and telling Boston, hey, your ass would be home. I think that probably all led to the Godfather feeling the way that he did. But look, man, this to me, this is where sports and feelings, this is where I would be no good as a GM. You guys know me. I'm Goosey's galore. I get the feels. And I don't want another D-Wade situation. I don't want Jimmy Butler's career to end in a Philadelphia 76ers jersey, and I really don't want it to end in a New York Knicks jersey. I don't want it to end in an LA Clippers jersey. I, too, would love Jimmy Butler's career to end in a Miami Heat jersey, and I've said this a couple of times, but I don't really care if this ends with Jimmy Butler being the D-Wade of a championship team or being the Alonzo Mourning when Alonzo got his championship. I don't care. Jimmy Butler has... You're never going to be able to tell this chapter of the Miami Heat story without Jimmy Butler and all the important moments that he's given the Miami Heat. The 50-plus point games, the 40-plus games, the 35-point triple-doubles in the bubble, the battles with Boston, all of that stuff. This is stuff that the D-Wade stuff's getting a long time ago, man. And, talking about this, I remember last year, there are going to be kids who are going to remember this era of Miami Heat basketball. And maybe they were too young for D-Wade in the Big Three. There's a lot of, the time is flying by, and they're going to have the fond memories of Miami Heat playoff basketball, and they're going to remember Jimmy. Jimmy is going to be their D-Wade. Nobody is D-Wade, but Jimmy's going to be their D-Wade. And while the organization may look at that and say, hey, that's Bam, and Bam is the Heat lifer, and he's the culture carrier, and that's all, even Pat Riley still admits, who's the needle mover? Jimmy. Jimmy is the needle mover, and they need him. And I think in a lot of ways they need each other. And so, yeah, when I read that stuff from Jimmy Butler, part of me wishes that this would have been dropped at somewhere around 11 a.m. on a Monday morning. But also part of me is glad that it's out there because, yeah, we know that Pat Riley didn't like what was released, but I think that you also see this now being in the ether, and you're like, all right, that, like Pat Riley, probably when he finished that press conference, is thinking to himself, I probably should have been a little less biting with that comment. Maybe he liked it, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But I think Jimmy probably is also like, maybe he doesn't care. I don't know. Jimmy, he's the ultimate troll, and he gives zero rat's asses about what people think. But I definitely think that if that is the way his message was originally put, when he says to the effect that, everybody got to pass this playoffs, comes off a lot easier than Boston and New York would have been home. Because it's kind of it's more of a confidence in himself than it is putting anybody else down. So I don't think any of this, I don't think any interviews, I don't think any feelings are going to have an impact on whether or not he does stay or there is going to be an extension. It does definitely sound like the Miami Heat are not keen on giving it right now as of this minute. Doesn't mean that can't change. Doesn't mean that feelings can't change eventually and that they can't be in a better spot. But I will say, to just say this is easy and this is without any sentiment and this is without any emotions, I think that's, kind of a silly notion. Unless Miami has up their sleeve, some absolute wild card joker that alongside Bam makes them instantly better. And I don't know that Donovan Mitchell does that. Donovan Mitchell with Jimmy Butler, for sure. Like that, then we could start talking again about, making a press towards the top of the Eastern Conference again. But those guys have been, as you know, in Riley's terms, needle movers for the most part, and they did not have their number one guy. So they got to figure it out. I'm still, you know, even if it is just the start is bringing back Jimmy and bringing back Bam, there does have to be major stuff done around them. It has to be a complete shift from what was around them and construction and philosophy, how they attack this thing offensively and get all those things in. Whoo, Panthers! Phew! Just tied it up 1-1. Hopefully keep this going, dude. Say, Steven Lorentz, Goosey's, dude. Nice guy. But, you know, I read that from Jimmy, and I was like, Jimmy, you rascal. You know, just when everybody's sitting here and everybody's pissed and everybody's, you know, they got the ill feelings. He's got this. He's boom, 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 tapping on the heartstrings, dude. It's impossible. He's like, you know, every time you're just like, get over here, you big lug. You know, hit some big shots. Do your silly stuff with emo stuff, and you know, do your purple velvet cowboy stuff, or ride on a horse in the middle of Miami, whatever it is. Marketing genius. And you know, just do what Riley says, and hopefully play, you know, at least like 65 games next year, maybe. You know, that would maybe smooth things over, and you know, Miami can get a better punch at this thing, because it was a very frustrating year, and it was I think quite annoying for the fans and for Spo, and I'm sure it was annoying for Jimmy too, because you know that these are legitimate. I do think there was a lot of legitimate injuries. I don't think physically he felt right. Maybe that is the tax of all these runs back to back to the finals, to the Eastern Conference Finals, shortened year, COVID years, all that stuff, and being the age that he's at. And yeah, maybe he took some liberties with the games that he should have played versus the games that, you know, maybe he sat back at. Should he have, you know, spent 4 hours at a tennis tournament and then, you know, missed the next game? No, you know, but like, it doesn't mean like this thing can't be right again, because there's been a lot of great moments. There's been more. I think everybody can agree. There's been a lot more great moments than there have been lousy moments. And right now you're down, and it sucks because you lose to your rival and you got beat down pretty bad. But does that mean that it should be the end of a relationship? I'm the wrong guy to ask, dude. You know, because my goosies are going to influence my decision. I'm bad at this. But I don't want to see Jimmy Butler go. And damn it, when he says those types of things, I'm just like, come on, let's do this thing again. Let's figure it out.